"Ma'am, do you even belong here?" the officer barked, his voice slicing through the morning chatter like a blade. The parking lot of the bustling Elmwood grocery store hummed with the quiet rhythm of a crisp autumn morning in the heart of the city. Shoppers pushed carts toward their sedans, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread wafting from the bakery vents and the faint exhaust from idling delivery trucks. Amid this ordinary symphony stood Angela Porter, a black woman in her mid-40s, her posture straight yet unassuming. She wore a simple navy blazer over a white blouse, paired with tailored slacks that spoke of quiet professionalism rather than flash. In her hands, she clutched a worn leather folder, its edges softened from years of use, filled with notes for the day ahead. Her dark hair was pulled into a neat bun, and her expression held the steady calm of someone who had navigated storms far greater than this mild November chill. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more stories of truth and justice, and tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Angela glanced at her watch, 7:45 a.m. She was early, always early, a habit forged in the fires of late-night stakeouts and courtroom battles long before dawn. Her son, Marcus, was running behind schedule, texting apologies about traffic as he raced from his college dorm across town with the secure packet she needed. Her updated credentials, encrypted case files, and the official briefing agenda. Today marked her ascension to lead field officer for the FBI's regional division, a role that demanded precision, and one she wouldn't enter without every detail locked down. The grocery store, just a quick stop on her route to the field office 2 miles away, had seemed like a neutral spot to wait. Neutral, until it wasn't. Footsteps crunched on the gravel behind her, deliberate and heavy. Angela turned slightly, sensing the shift in the air before she saw them. 2 uniformed officers from the local precinct emerged from their patrol car, parked at the lot's edge, their badges glinting under the weak sunlight. Officer Harlan Reed, broad-shouldered with a jaw set like concrete, led the way, his hand resting casually on his belt near his holster. Beside him strode Officer Lyle Klein, younger, wiry, with eyes that darted like a hawk scanning for prey. They had been circling the lot on routine patrol, eyes peeled for the suspicious activity reports that seemed to spike in this diverse neighborhood. Vague calls from store managers about folks lingering too long. Reed's gaze locked on Angela first, narrowing as he took in her solitary stance. The folder gripped a touch too tightly. To him, she didn't fit the profile of a harried mom grabbing milk or a retiree flipping through the circulars. No, she looked out of place, too poised, too still. His radio crackled faintly with dispatch chatter, but he ignored it, already scripting the narrative in his head. "Ma'am," Reed called out, his tone laced with that false courtesy, cops reserved for situations they deemed precarious. He stopped a few feet away, Klein flanking him like a shadow. "Do you even belong here?" Angela met his eyes evenly, her heart quickening, but her face a mask of composure. She had faced worse: hostile witnesses, armed suspects, the cold stare of institutional doubt, but something in Reed's voice, that casual edge of presumption, stirred the embers of old wounds. "Good morning, officers," she replied, her voice smooth as polished oak, measured to de-escalate. "I'm just waiting for my son. He's dropping something off any minute now. I have business in the area shortly." Klein shifted his weight, glancing at the store's automatic doors sliding open and shut behind her. "Business?" he echoed, a smirk tugging at his lips. "Around a grocery store at this hour? Looks more like loitering to me. We've had complaints about people hanging around, causing concern." The words landed like pebbles in still water, rippling outward. A middle-aged white woman unloading her trunk paused, her keys jingling awkwardly as she stole a glance. 2 teens on bikes slowed their pedals, whispering behind cupped hands. Angela felt the weight of those eyes, the unspoken questions they carried. Who is she? What's she done? She straightened imperceptibly. the folder a shield against the chill now creeping beyond the weather. "I'm not loitering," Angela said firmly, though her mind raced ahead to the briefing, the team counting on her lead. Revealing her identity now, flashing the slim leather wallet with her FBI shield, would unravel the discretion her role demanded. Not here, not like this, not before the official handoff that would cement her command. "I assure you, everything's in order. My ID's right here if you'd like to see." Reed's hand didn't move from his belt. Instead, he leaned in slightly, his breath visible in the cool air. "ID's a start, ma'am, but folks like you, well, we see it all the time. Hanging around government spots, stores, places you don't quite fit. Makes people nervous." He whispered the last part to Klein, low enough for Angela to catch, but not the passers-by, the words slithering like smoke. "People like her." The slur hung unspoken, yet deafening. Angela's pulse thrummed in her temples, but she swallowed the retort rising like bile. "Not today. Not when victory waited just hours away." She extended the folder slightly, as if it could bridge the gulf. "Officers, please. This is a misunderstanding. Let me call my—" "Save it," Klein interrupted, pulling out his notepad with exaggerated slowness. "Step over here. Hands where we can see 'em while we run this." He radioed dispatch, his voice clipped. "Unit 12 got a possible trespasser at Elmwood Grocery. Female, mid-40s, black. No visible ID yet. Send backup if needed." Angela complied, her movements deliberate, palms open at her sides. The folder stayed tucked under her arm, its contents a secret fortress. Reed circled her slowly, like a shark scenting blood, his smirk deepening. "You know, ma'am, we could make this easy. Just tell us what you're really doing here. Scouting? Waiting for a lift? Or something we need to cuff you for?" She held her ground. Dignity, her only armor. "I'm a professional with an appointment. That's all you need to know right now." Her voice didn't waver, but inside, a tremor stirred. The quiet rage of a woman who had clawed her way through profiling's gauntlet, only to face it again on the cusp of her triumph. The backup call echoed faintly over the radio, drawing more stares. A store employee poked his head out the door, brow furrowed, but ducked back inside at Reed's glare. Angela's phone buzzed in her pocket. Marcus, probably, 5 minutes out, but she couldn't reach for it, not with Klein's eyes boring into her like she was already guilty. Reed straightened, his mock politeness sharpening into command. "All right, let's take a little walk inside, ma'am. You can explain to store security why you're loitering out here like this. And who knows, maybe they'll press charges for disturbing the peace." Angela's sigh escaped soft as a whisper, heavy with the weight of unspoken histories. She nodded once, falling into step between them as they guided her toward the glass doors. The murmurs from the lot swelled, a low buzz of confusion, sympathy, judgment, fading as the doors whooshed shut behind them. Gravel crunched underfoot one last time, and in that enclosed echo, something shifted. The air inside the store, warm with fluorescent hum and the tang of produce, carried no hint of the storm it was about to unleash. Angela's quiet resolve, though, burned brighter, a signal flare in the dim corridors of Assumption. What these officers had ignited was no mere detainment. It was the spark of a reckoning, vast and unyielding, waiting to consume the shadows of their certainty. Before we go on, don't forget to subscribe for more stories of truth and justice, and tell us, where are you watching from? The morning sun filtered through the lace curtains of Angela Porter's modest two-bedroom bungalow on the east side of the city, casting golden patterns across the worn oak kitchen table. It was 6:15 a.m., the clock ticking with the relentless optimism of new beginnings. Angela stood before the mirror in her hallway, adjusting the collar of her blouse, her reflection a portrait of quiet strength, etched by years of unyielding determination. At 46, her face bore the fine lines of laughter shared with her son, and the deeper furrows of sleepless nights spent poring over case files under desk lamps. Her skin, a warm mahogany glow, radiated the poise of someone who had turned adversity into armor. "Mom, you got this," Marcus said from the kitchen, his voice muffled around a mouthful of toast. The 17-year-old, lanky and bright-eyed with his father's easy smile, fumbled with his backpack straps while trying to knot his school tie for the third time. Angela stepped in, her fingers deft and gentle, straightening the silk into a perfect Windsor. "There, now you look like the future district attorney I know you're going to be." He grinned, ducking his head shyly. "Says the woman who's about to run the whole FBI field office. Lead Field Officer Porter. Has a ring to it, doesn't it?" Marcus's pride swelled in his chest, a balloon ready to burst. He had watched his mother transform from the night shift clerk juggling double duties to the sharp-suited special agent who brought down trafficking rings single-handedly. Law school had been her battlefield, FBI Academy her proving ground. Every late fee and missed recital, a scar she wore like a badge. Angela chuckled softly, ruffling his hair despite his protest. "It does, but remember, it's not about the title, Marcus. It's about the work, the families we protect, the truths we uncover. That's what got me here." Her eyes softened as she recalled the path. Widowed young, raising a boy alone while burning the midnight oil at the corner store, then channeling that grit into a JD by correspondence, followed by the Bureau's grueling selection process. She had specialized in civil rights violations, her reports on systemic bias earning quiet accolades and louder enemies. Her promotion had stirred whispers in the ranks. Some brass called her too activist, her push for accountability in law enforcement a thorn in their side. Yet here she was, on the verge of leading the division that policed the police themselves. A knock echoed from the front door, light and familiar. Angela opened it to reveal Mrs. Jennings, the silver-haired widow next door, clutching a foil-wrapped plate of cornbread. "Angela, honey, I saw the paper this morning. Front page, FBI taps trailblazer for lead role. You did it. First black woman in the region's top spot. I'm prouder than if it was my own." Mrs. Jennings thrust the plate forward, her eyes misty. "Baked these fresh. For luck or celebration, or both." Angela accepted the gift with a warm hug, the scent of buttermilk evoking Sundays long past. "Mrs. J, you spoil me, and thank you. Means the world coming from you. You've been my rock through every transfer, every long night." Humility laced her words, a deliberate counter to the headlines. She wasn't one for fanfare. Justice, in her book, was a quiet forge, hammered out in shadowed alleys and forgotten files. But today, the swearing-in briefing at the field office would make it official. Her oath renewed, her command affirmed before a room of agents hungry for direction under a leader who understood the fractures in the system. As Mrs. Jennings bustled back to her porch, Angela returned to the kitchen, where Marcus was rinsing his plate. "You nervous?" he asked, drying his hands on a dish towel. "I mean, big bosses, all eyes on you." "A little," she admitted, pouring coffee into a travel mug. "Not about the job that I've earned 1,000 times over. It's the eyes that judge before they see, the ones who think a badge erases the skin beneath it." She sipped, the bitterness grounding her. Her cases had exposed it all. Officers planting evidence in black communities, stops turning violent without cause, the endless cycle of distrust. Her nomination had been a battle, vetted by committees who grilled her on neutrality while ignoring their own stains. But she had prevailed, not with fire, but with facts, mountains of them, unassailable. Her phone chimed on the counter, a text from her assistant, Elena. "Stuck in traffic. Accident on the interstate. Can't make the field office drop. Meet me at Elmwood Grocery instead. 10 min out." Bringing the secure packet, Angela typed back quickly. "Perfect. I'll head there now." She glanced at Marcus, pulling him into a fierce hug. "Love you, kid. Knock 'em dead in chem today." "Love you more, Mom. Go be the boss." He waved from the door as she grabbed her keys, the leather folder under her arm a talisman of preparation. Stepping onto the porch, Angela paused, the neighborhood stirring to life. Children scampering to the bus stop, dogs barking at squirrels, the distant wail of a siren blending into the urban chorus. She looked back at the house, its peeling paint a testament to lean years, then at her reflection in the car window. Dark eyes stared back, fierce and clear. "No matter what they think," she whispered to the glass, "I earned this. Every step, every scar." The words settled like a vow, fortifying her against the unknown. She slid into the driver's seat, the engine humming to life with a familiar purr. The drive to Elmwood was short, a weave through tree-lined streets giving way to commercial sprawl. Angela's mind drifted to the briefing agenda. Strategy sessions on a multi-agency task force targeting corruption in local precincts. Her first directive as lead. It would be a room of hardened agents, some allies, others skeptics, all waiting to see if she bent or broke under the weight. But she wouldn't. She couldn't. The grocery store loomed ahead, its neon sign flickering against the morning haze. Angela pulled into the lot, parking near the entrance for easy access. She stepped out, folder in hand, and leaned against her car, scanning the flow of early birds. The air carried hints of rain on the wind, but her focus was inward, rehearsing opening remarks, visualizing the team's nods of respect. Marcus's text buzzed. 5 mins. Sorry again. 5 minutes. Plenty of time. She straightened her blazer, breathing deep. The day stretched before her like a canvas, blank and brimming with possibility. Little did she know, the first stroke would come not from allies, but from the long arm of unchecked suspicion, turning her poised vigil into a spectacle of shattered illusions. Across town, the field office buzzed with anticipation, agents filing reports and sharpening pencils for the main event. But here, in the shadow of shopping carts and sale signs, Angela Porter stood ready, unaware that the calm she carried was the eye of a storm-gathering force. Her stride from the car had been confident, purposeful, a woman stepping into her destiny. Now, as the patrol lights flashed in the distance, that same woman found herself reframed, her authority eclipsed by the glare of badges she had sworn to oversee. The transition was seamless, brutal, from sovereign to suspect, in the span of a heartbeat. Inside the fluorescent-lit security office of Elmwood Grocery Store, the air hung heavy with the stale scent of ink and instant coffee, the kind that brewed too long and tasted of regret. Tucked behind the customer service counter, the room was a cramped bunker of metal filing cabinets, flickering monitors, and a desk scarred from years of petty disputes, lost wallets, bounced checks, the occasional scuffle over expired coupons. Angela Porter sat on a hard plastic chair, her leather folder balanced on her lap like a lifeline, while officers Reed and Klein loomed over her. The door clicked shut behind them, sealing the space into a pressure cooker of authority and unease. "All right, ma'am," Reed said, tossing her driver's license onto the desk with a careless flick. It skidded to a stop beside a half-eaten donut, the photo of Angela, smiling, professional, staring up accusingly. Angela Porter. "Address checks out, but that don't explain why you're pacing the lot like you're casing the joint." Store manager called it in. Suspicious female, lingering, no cart. Sound familiar? Angela's hands remained folded, her knuckles pale against the dark of her skin, but her voice held steady, laced with the patient timbre of someone used to bridging divides. "As I said outside, officer, I'm waiting for a delivery. Personal business. No intent to cause concern." She gestured subtly to the folder. "This is for a professional meeting. I can provide more details if—" "Details?" Klein snorted, snapping a photo of her ID with his phone, the flash harsh in the dim light. "Lady, you folks always got details. Creative ones. Slipping into places, acting like you own 'em. He leaned against the desk, arms crossed, his badge catching the overhead glare. The words dripped with implication, a toxic shorthand for histories of exclusion and excess. The store receptionist, a young Latina woman named Sophia, with a name tag askew and kindness in her eyes, hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands. She had buzzed them in reluctantly, but now doubt creased her brow. Wait, Angela Porter? That name, I think I saw it in the news. The FBI thing? The promotion article last week? Sophia's voice rose hopefully, a crack in the officer's armor. Reed shot her a look that could curdle milk. If she worked for the feds, she'd have flashed that big shiny badge by now, wouldn't she? Instead, she's got a folder and a story. Sit tight, miss. This is police business. Sophia wilted, retreating to her station, but not before casting Angela an apologetic glance, the door swinging shut like a gavel. Alone again, Angela felt the walls close in, the monitors beeping softly with feeds of aisles stocked with cereals and canned goods, a banal backdrop to this unfolding indignity. Her phone vibrated silently in her pocket, ignored under Klein's watchful eye. "You're making a mistake," she said, her tone even but threaded with steel. "Verify with dispatch. My credentials are legitimate. This doesn't have to escalate." Reed chuckled, low and rumbling, perching on the desk's edge so close she could smell his aftershave. Cheap, overpowering. "Escalate? Ma'am, we're verifying right now. But let's be real. Women like you show up unannounced. No uniform, no backup. Raises flags. We've pulled in dozens for less. Shoppers waiting, who end up with sticky fingers or worse." He air-quoted, "waiting," his smirk a blade twisting in the wound of her restraint. Klein's radio crackled, dispatch murmuring clearances, but he muted it, eyes flicking to Reed for cue. A flicker of hesitation crossed his face. Angela's composure unnerved him, her lack of panic a puzzle in a routine takedown. She sat too straight, spoke too clearly, her gaze holding truths he couldn't quite grasp. "She doesn't seem like a thief, Sarge," he muttered almost to himself. "Maybe we call it improper. Run the full plate," Reed scoffed, waving it off. "That's what they count on, Klein. The cool act. Throws you off. Nah, we're keeping this tight. No scene in the aisles." He stood, gesturing to the door. "Come on, ma'am. While we wait on confirmation, let's move you to the lobby. Fresh air, less clutter. Don't want folks thinking we're running a spa back here." Angela rose slowly, dignity cloaking her like a second skin. The folder stayed clutched to her chest, its weight a reminder of the power deferred just beyond these walls. As they stepped into the corridor, a narrow service hall lined with stockroom doors and emergency exits, the store's pulse quickened around them. Shoppers milled in the main area, carts clattering, but whispers snaked through the air like smoke. An elderly man by the registers squinted at her, recognition dawning. "Ain't that the agent from TV? The one busting bad cops?" Before the murmurs could swell, Reed steered her left, toward the side exit, his hand hovering near her elbow, not touching, but implying. "Keep it moving. Public property. Don't mean free pass." The irony coiled tight. Just beyond the swinging doors to the produce section, a community bulletin board fluttered with flyers. One, bold and official, touted the FBI's Trust and Transparency Initiative. Angela's brainchild, photos of diverse agents shaking hands with locals. Her face wasn't on it, but her words were, "Justice thrives when we see each other clearly." Now, blurred by suspicion, those words mocked from the wall. Klein's doubt deepened, his steps faltering. "Sarge, the name did ring a bell. What if she's legit? Dispatch said something about federal cross-check." He trailed off, voice low, the seed of regret taking root. Reed's jaw tightened, his whisper sharp. "Doubt's a weakness, kid. She fits the call. Solo, no purpose. That's what they want you to think. make you second-guess. He pushed open the lobby door, the cooler air rushing in, carrying the scent of rain-soaked asphalt. Angela paused at the threshold, her eyes catching the glass storefront where the parking lot stretched beyond. Cars pulled in, oblivious, while inside the store's heart beat on, checkouts beeping, children giggling over candy choices. Her silence stretched, a deliberate tapestry of power woven from threads of endurance. It pressed against the officers like an unseen force. Klein averting his gaze, Reed's smirk thinning at the edges. She said nothing, but her presence spoke volumes. The weight of a life spent correcting courses, now forced to navigate her own derailment. The hallway's hum faded as they neared the exit, the automatic doors parting with a mechanical sigh. Outside, the lot waited, a stage for whatever came next. Apologies or arrests, vindication or vanishing points. Angela's glance lingered on the bulletin board one last time, her expression unyielding. The doors she approached weren't meant for exit as a suspect, but entry as a sentinel. Yet here she was, reframed in their lens, her authority a ghost in the machine of prejudice. The tension coiled tighter, a spring wound to snap, as the first drops of rain pattered against the glass, harbingers of the downpour to come. Confusion rippled through the Elmwood grocery store like a stone skipped across still water, the initial splash of suspicion giving way to widening circles of doubt and dawning horror. The side lobby, a vestibule of vending machines and faded posters urging "shop local," "stay safe," had become an impromptu arena. Shoppers clustering at a respectful distance, their phones held high like torches in a vigil. Angela Porter walked between Officers Reed and Klein, her steps measured, the leather folder still her steadfast companion. No cuffs clicked around her wrists, not yet, but the escort felt like chains, invisible links forged from Reed's unyielding grip on narrative control. "Keep your head down." "Ma'am," Reed muttered, his voice a gravelly undercurrent to the murmurs swelling around them. "Wouldn't want to give the wrong impression." His hand gestured toward the exit doors, where gray skies pressed low, threatening rain. Klein trailed a step behind, his earlier hesitation now a full bloom of unease. Radio clutched like a talisman against the tide turning. Angela's composure held, a lighthouse in fog. But the sting of public scrutiny burned, faces blurred in her periphery. A mother shielding her child's eyes, a stock boy frozen mid-palate. The elderly man from earlier now nodding fiercely as if to say, "Hold on." Videos captured it all. Shaky frames of the poised woman in navy, flanked by blue. The officer's postures screaming authority, while hers whispered defiance. "This is unnecessary," she said quietly, her words carrying to the nearest onlookers. "I'm cooperating." "But you're crossing a line." Klein swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Sarge, maybe we wait for dispatch." The clerk said, "Quiet," Reed snapped, his eyes scanning the growing crowd. 20-30 people now, a human cordon forming. The store manager, a harried man in a red vest named Mr. Harlan, coincidentally sharing Reed's surname, emerged from the main floor, wiping flour-dusted hands on his apron. "Officers? What's the holdup? She's not one of our usuals, but..." Before Harlan could finish, a voice pierced the din, sharp and urgent. "Stop! That's Special Agent Angela Porter. You idiots are detaining the FBI's new lead field officer." Elena Vasquez, Angela's assistant, burst through the entrance doors, her heels clicking like gunfire on tile. Late 20s, fierce and loyal, Elena clutched a sleek black satchel, the secure packet Marcus had handed off to her en route. Her face flushed with exertion and outrage, dark curls escaping her ponytail as she shoved past a gawking cart pusher. Reed whirled, his hand instinctively dropping to his holster. "Who the hell are you? Back off! This is official." "She's covering for her," Klein interjected weakly, but his voice cracked, the crowd's murmurs rising to a crescendo. Angela finally raised her voice. Not in shout, but in command. The timbre honed from briefings that quelled rooms of alpha agents. Enough! You've made your assumptions crystal clear. Racial profiling wrapped in procedure. Now, you're going to regret every word, every glance. The lobby fell into a stunned hush, the weight of her declaration landing like a gavel's echo. Phones zoomed closer, capturing the pivot, the suspect becoming sovereign. Reed barked a laugh, forced and hollow, echoing off the linoleum. Regret? Oh, I'll lose sleep over a loiterer with a mouth. Step aside, Missy, or you're obstructing. If you think that went too far, hit subscribe and tell us what you'd do if this happened to you. The doors whooshed open again, admitting a figure whose presence sucked the oxygen from the room. Special agent in charge, Victor Lang, Angela's soon-to-be subordinate, and the division's veteran liaison, strode in with the clipped efficiency of a man who had diffused bombs and boardrooms alike. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair cropped military short, he carried a tablet under one arm and a scowl that could curdle negotiations. He had detoured to the store on Elena's frantic call, expecting a coffee run delay. Not this circus. Lang's eyes swept the scene. Angela flanked, crowd buzzing, officers posturing, and his face drained to the pallor of fresh newsprint. What in God's name is going on here? His voice boomed, low thunder rolling through the vestibule. He zeroed in on Reed, recognition flickering, a face from Joint Ops, now twisted in confusion. Reed? You? Get your hands off her. This is Angela Porter, our incoming lead field officer. The briefing starts in 45, and you're playing mall cop? The air froze, solid as Arctic ice. Klein's radio slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor with a betrayal's crack. Reed's smirk evaporated, his mouth working soundlessly like a fish on dry dock. Gape, flinch, repeat. Elena rushed to Angela's side, thrusting the satchel forward. Ma'am, Agent Porter, I'm so sorry. Marcus got held up, Angela placed a steadying hand on her arm, her gaze never leaving the officers. It's all right, Elena. Timely, even. She turned to Lang, a nod passing between them like a shared cipher. Victor, seems I've had an unexpected security check. The hallway erupted in murmurs, camera clicks punctuating the chaos like erratic applause. Mr. Harlan stammered apologies, his vest suddenly too tight. Officers, I called the tip, but this... Oh, man. Shoppers whispered furiously. FBI? Her. Did you see his face? Videos streamed live, hashtags birthing in real time. Cha Justice? A Telmwood. Sa Tot Agent Porter. Reed backed a step, color flooding his cheeks. Sarge, Agent Lang, this is a mix-up, dispatch said, suspicious. Save it for IA, Lang growled, his tablet already open to log the incident. He turned to Angela, deference softening his edges. Ma'am, the team's assembled. Director's waiting. Shall we? Angela stood taller, the folder and satchel now twin symbols of reclamation. Her eyes, deep pools of resolve, swept the crowd, thanking the silent witnesses before settling on Reed and Klein. Gentlemen, she said, her voice a velvet blade, assumptions have consequences. Let's continue this conversation. At the field office, my office, to be precise. The lobby exhaled collectively as she turned toward the doors, Lang and Elena flanking her like a proper detail. Rain pattered harder now, streaking the glass, but Angela's stride cut through it undeterred. Behind her, Reed sagged against a vending machine, Klein retrieving his radio with trembling hands. The murmurs swelled to a roar, vindication's chorus, as the automatic doors parted once more. What had begun as a routine stop twisted into legend. The grocery store's mundane aisles forever etched as ground zero for a revelation that would echo far beyond its shelves. Angela emerged into the downpour, not diminished. but elevated, the calm center reclaiming her orbit, pulling the world into alignment with truth's inexorable pull. The drive to the FBI field office blurred past in a haze of windshield wipers and terse radio chatter, the rain a relentless drumbeat against the sedan's roof. Angela sat in the passenger seat, Victor Lang at the wheel, his knuckles white on the leather as he navigated the slick streets. Elena rode shotgun in the back, satchel secured, her apologies tumbling like loose change. But Angela waved them off with a quiet smile, her focus inward, composing not anger, but architecture for what came next. The incident at Elmwood lingered like smoke, acrid and clinging, yet she refused to let it choke the air of her ascent. Dignity, she knew, was the ultimate brief. The field office loomed on the city's edge, a fortress of glass and steel camouflaged as corporate blandness, its lower levels humming with the pulse of national security. Agents nodded as Angela entered the lobby, their greetings a mix of congratulations and curious glances. Word of the store stop already rippling through secure channels, viral in the velocity of internal memos. Security waved her through without a pat-down, a small mercy that tasted bittersweet. Up the elevator to the third-floor briefing room, the air shifted from sterile to charged. The scent of fresh coffee mingling with printer ink and the faint ozone of projection screens warming up. Inside, the room was a theater of power. 20 agents in crisp suits and tactical vests, laptops aglow with maps of ongoing ops, the U.S. and field office flags flanking a podium etched with the Bureau's seal. At the head sat Director Elaine Hargrove, a silver-haired titan whose career spanned Watergate leaks to cyber threats, her eyes sharp as she reviewed briefing slides. The team fell silent as Angela entered, a ripple of applause breaking the hush. Genuine, thunderous, laced with the undercurrent of her morning's absurdity. Hargrove rose, her presence commanding the space like gravity. Agents, before we dive in, it's my profound honor to officially welcome Special Agent Angela Porter as our new lead field officer, a woman whose career isn't just a resume, it's a reckoning. From dismantling hate crime networks to authoring protocols that hold us accountable, Angela embodies the Bureau's oath: fidelity, bravery, integrity. Her voice warmed, the room leaning in. She's dedicated her life to justice and equality, bridging divides we too often widen. Today she steps not just into command, but into history. The applause swelled again, agents rising in waves, their faces a mosaic of respect. Some long-standing allies, others converts swayed by her unyielding record. Angela took the podium, the leather folder open before her, its pages a blueprint for the task force ahead. No robe draped her shoulders, no gavel rested in hand, but the weight felt the same. Authority earned, not bestowed. Hargrove administered the oath, her words crisp over the hum of recorders. Angela's response rang clear, resonant, filling the room like a clarion. I swear to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States, to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic, without bias or fear, even from those meant to protect it. The pause was deliberate, her eyes sweeping the assembly, landing briefly on the back row where Reed and Klein had been quietly summoned. Lang's doing, a prelude to formal review. Reed shifted uncomfortably, gaze glued to the floor. His earlier bravado evaporated into sweat-slicked regret. Klein met her eyes once, his nod small but sincere, remorse etching lines on his young face. The briefing unfolded with precision. Slides on corruption probes, asset maps of tainted precincts, Angela's directives threading reform through enforcement. We don't just catch the corrupt, she said, pointer tracing red flags on the screen. We prevent the poison. Training, transparency, trust, starting yesterday. The team absorbed it, questions flying, sharp, engaged. her answers a masterclass in clarity. Hours compressed into momentum, the rain outside forgotten. As the session broke for lunch, reporters waited in the lobby, a scrum summoned by leaks faster than light. Microphones thrust forward, lights hot on her face. Agent Porter, sources say you were detained this morning by local PD at a grocery store. Racial profiling? Comments? Angela paused, composure her shield, grace her sword. What happened at Elmwood was a reminder, not a rarity. A black woman waiting for a package, me, reduced to suspicion without cause. Flashes popped, notebooks scribbled. But it steels my resolve. Justice doesn't begin in briefings or badges. It begins in how we treat one another. Every encounter, every assumption challenged. She smiled faintly, deflecting deeper probes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a division to lead. The quote ignited feeds within minutes. Headlines blooming. FBI's new chief on morning mistake. Justice starts with us. Back in the room, agents clustered around her, offers of coffee and commiseration flowing. Hargrove pulled her aside, grip firm on her elbow. That was class, Angela. Pure. They'll spin it. But you owned it. I had to, Angela replied softly, glancing toward the lobby where uniformed shadows lingered. Reed and Klein, debriefed and dismissed for now, their presence a ghost at the feast. For every woman they've stopped, every kid they've scared. This role? It's not just power. It's proof. The applause from the morning had faded into the day's rhythm, but its echo lingered, a bass note under the clack of keyboards and murmur of strategy. Angela settled at her new desk, oversized, overlooking the bullpen, case files stacking like bricks in a wall of purpose. Reed and Klein's forms receded down the hall, their footsteps heavy with the burden of exposure. Triumph tinged her thoughts. Yes, but heavier still was the truth. Victory in these battles was Pyrrhic, each win a bandage on a wound society refused to stitch. She exhaled, turning to the next file, her expression unreadable, a cipher of resolve, hinting at depths yet unplumbed. The moment stretched, triumphant yet taut, as sunlight pierced the clouds outside, gilding the rain-slicked world in reluctant gold. Justice, it seemed, was a dawn that broke slowly, but broke all the same. A week slipped by in the field office like pages in a well-thumbed dossier. Methodical, relentless, each day layering new intel atop the last. The rain had cleared, leaving the city scrubbed and sharp-edged, but the haze of the Elmwood incident clung, pixelated on every screen from local news to viral clips. Internal affairs moved with the speed of a subpoena, their inquiry a scalpel dissecting the patrol footage, grainy store cams capturing Reed's smirks, Klein's hesitations, Angela's unbowed spine amid the fluorescent glare. The department's brass squirmed under federal scrutiny. The grocery store manager's 911 call, now a footnote in regret. In a windowless conference room downtown, the interrogation unfolded under harsh halogens, the air thick with coffee dregs and defensiveness. Officer Harlan Reed sat ramrod straight, his uniform crisp, but his eyes darting like cornered prey. Across the table, two IA investigators, stern-faced, clipboards in hand, leaned forward, the video paused on his whispered aside. People like her. We were just doing our job, Reed insisted, his voice a gravelly shield cracking at the edges. Tip came in, suspicious loiterer, no visible purpose. Standard protocol, approach, ID, verify. She resisted details. What was I supposed to do? Let her stroll. He gestured expansively, as if the room might buy his bluster. But the footage betrayed him. The lean-in too close, the air-quoted mockery, the dismissal of Sophia's recognition. His partner's doubt, frozen in pixels, hung like an accusation. Investigator Torres, a no-nonsense Latina with a stare that peeled lies, tapped the screen. Resisted? She complied every step. And that tip? Vague as fog from a manager spooked by what exactly? Her folder? Torres's pen scratched notes, each word a nail in the coffin of plausible deniability. This looks like profiling, officer. Textbook. Reed's jaw clenched, sweat beading on his brow. Profiling? That's a stretch. Heat of the moment. Heat? The second investigator, Patel, interjected coolly. Or habit. Your stop logs read 70% on black or brown individuals last quarter. Patterns don't lie. Across the table, Officer Lyle Klein slouched, his remorse a visible shroud. Called in separately, he had cracked early, voice trembling as he recounted the unease gnawing at him from the start. I should have known better, sirs. She was calm, too calm, like she was used to it. When the assistant yelled, Agent Porter, it hit me. The news, the face. I radioed hesitant, but Sarge pushed. Should have pushed back. Tears welled, unbidden, as he rubbed his eyes. It's not right. None of it. The room emptied into recommendations. Reed reassigned pending full review, his patrol duties suspended like a guillotine's blade. Klein, green but salvageable, marked for mandatory retraining, sensitivity modules, bias audits, the Bureau's shadow influence ensuring teeth in the mandate. Whispers in precinct halls turned to sidelong glances, Reed's locker echoing with isolation. Meanwhile, miles away in the field office's sunlit chambers, Angela immersed in her domain. A corner suite with views of the river, walls lined with case binders, and a single framed photo of Marcus at graduation. She reviewed civil rights dockets, her pen gliding over reports of excessive force, wrongful stops, the endless ledger of institutional sins. No glee colored her. Focus. Revenge was a fool's vintage, bitter on the tongue. Instead, as sunlight slanted across her desk, she drafted a letter to Police Commissioner Hale. Her script elegant, unyielding. Commissioner, it began. The events of last week underscore a fracture we can mend. Not with punishment alone, but with enlightenment. Officer Klein's candor offers a bridge. Channel it. Implement department-wide training. Implicit bias, de-escalation, cultural competency. I've attached Bureau resources, proven in the field. Education transforms more than termination. Let's build that future. Together. She sealed it, the envelope a olive branch wrapped in steel. Hargrove, stopping by with a nod of approval, scanned the draft. Generous, Angela. Most would have called for heads. Most haven't led, she replied, leaning back. Justice isn't demolition. It's reconstruction. The narrative pivoted then, from raw humiliation to quiet alchemy. Reed, yanked into mandatory sessions at a nondescript community center, sat amid diverse faces, activists, youth, fellow officers, his arms crossed, loosening over hours. A facilitator's question pierced, "What did you see in her that scared you?" Silence stretched, then words tumbled. Ignorance, fear, the echo of his own father's slurs. He didn't transform overnight, but cracks formed, light seeping in. Klein, penitent, penned an apology delivered by courier to Angela's desk. Lined paper, handwriting shaky. Agent Porter, I failed you, and everyone like you, by not trusting my gut. Your grace shames me. I'll do better. She read it once, folded it neatly, and filed it away. Not in triumph, but in the archive of potential. No press release followed, no public flogging. Her verdict was silence, louder than any statement, a space for growth unforced. Across the city, the precinct stirred uneasily, memos circulating on enhanced protocols, Reed's empty chair a cautionary void. Angela, in her chambers, felt the shift, a tide turning not by force, but by the gravity of example. She stood at the window one evening, the river reflecting twilight hues, her nameplate gleaming, Lead Field Officer Angela Porter. Sunlight caught its edges, warm and affirming, as if the day itself conspired in her quiet revolution. Accountability, it turned out, was no vengeful storm but a steady rain, eroding stone until new shapes emerged. And in that erosion, transformation whispered promises of officers remade, communities reclaimed, a system bent, if not broken, toward equity's arc. Weeks unfurled like a case file reopening, the city's pulse quickening under autumn's deepening gold. The field office thrummed with the cadence of command, Angela Porter's tenure a steady hand on the tiller. Ops launched, alliances forged, the Elmwood echo fading into operational lore. But irony, that sly architect, scripted her first public hearing with poetic precision. A joint federal-local tribunal on police misconduct, dissecting a string of brutality claims in the very precinct that had birthed her detainment. The venue was the federal courthouse downtown, its marble halls echoing with the ghosts of verdicts past. But the gallery held familiar shadows. Reed and Klein, mandated observers, their presence a compulsory pilgrimage to the altar of consequence. The courtroom gleamed under chandeliers tuned to midday sun, wood-paneled walls absorbing the hush as participants filed in. Prosecutors in gray suits, defense attorneys with leather briefcases, witnesses with averted eyes. The air crackled with stakes unspoken. Angela took the elevated dais, not in judicial black but FBI Navy, her badge pinned like a star of reckoning. No gavel struck. Her authority was the floor she granted, the questions she posed, deliberate as a surgeon's incision. The gallery, packed with advocates and reporters, leaned forward, pencils poised. Case 24-107. Allegations of excessive force against officers Ramirez and Tate, she intoned, her voice carrying the resonance of command rooms, steady and inclusive. We convene not to condemn, but to clarify. Plaintiffs, your evidence? She listened then, truly, testimonies unfolding like fragile scrolls. A father's fractured ribs from a routine stop, a mother's screams drowned by sirens, patterns mirroring her own brush with the badge's blind side. Exhibits projected. Body cams glitchy with aggression. Logs skewed by omission. The defense countered. Voices measured. Training lapses. Split-second calls. The thin blue lines lament. Angela's pen paused often, her gaze weaving through the room, on the plaintiff's trembling hands, the officer's averted stares, the gallery where Reed sat rigid, Klein's notebook frantic with notes. No revenge flavored her scrutiny. Fairness was her lodestar. Reform her refrain. Hours compressed into testimony's forge. Objections sustained or overruled with equity's scale. As closing arguments waned, Angela addressed the bench, her words a manifesto etched in air. Ladies and gentlemen, justice isn't a ledger of humiliations repaid. It's correction, a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. We find for the plaintiffs on counts 1 and 3, monetary damages, mandatory oversight. But we mandate more: city-wide protocol overhaul, independent audits, restorative dialogues. She paused, eyes sweeping the accused officers. And for the department, 6 months probation with counseling. Not punishment for error, but accountability for repetition. Justice looks like this: firm, fair, forward. The audience rose in waves, applause restrained but fervent, a tide of respect cresting over doubt. Reporters scribbled furiously, headlines queuing. FBI lead delivers balanced blow to PD misconduct. In the gallery, Reed exhaled slowly, the weight of Angela's mercy heavier than wrath could have been. He had watched her navigate the chaos with the grace he had once mocked, her rulings a mirror to his flaws. Klein jotted one last note. Correction, not humiliation. A seed, perhaps, for soil he would till. The session adjourned, the courtroom emptying into corridors alive with debriefs and handshakes. Angela gathered her files, the leather folder now scarred with use, a veteran of battles won. Outside, the plaza beckoned, the same urban expanse where grocery lots and precincts bled into one another, where assumptions bloomed unchecked. She stepped into the crisp air, sunlight slanting low, casting long shadows that danced like possibilities. No questions dogged her now. Passers-by nodded, a vendor tipping his hat. Irony circled once more. A young black girl, no older than 10, tugged her mother's sleeve amid the crowd, finger pointing with wonder. "Mom, look, that's the FBI lady from the news, the one who fixed the cops." The mother's smile broke wide, pride mirroring Angela's own quiet glow. Angela paused, meeting the girl's eyes with a wink. "Keep watching, sweetheart. Justice needs eyes like yours." The girl beamed, the moment a ripple in the city's vast pond, small, but sending waves. Subscribe and share if you believe respect should never depend on how someone looks. They had mocked her for standing where she did, not knowing she stood for something greater, justice itself. In the measure of true power, it isn't the badge that gleams brightest, nor the title that echoes loudest. It's the hand that wields them, steady against the storm, turning trespass into testament. Angela Porter walked on, the plaza's stone cool underfoot, her shadow stretching toward horizons yet claimed. And in that stride, a truth endured. The measure of justice isn't in who has power, but how they use it.